Hey everyone, I hope that you're having a good week. I hope that you're able to enjoy this great afternoon and evening weather that we're having right now. Out here taking advantage of it on the back patio. I did finish reading through your tweets for Unit 1 about history and historical thinking. I've added some comments and questions there, so please respond. Also, please recognize that you can respond to any of the questions that I've posted there. I try to include the hashtag on everything that I do on Twitter as well, so that you'll be able to see it. So even if I didn't ask you a direct question, but I raised an issue that you think is interesting or that you'd like to talk more about, please go ahead and respond to those threads as appropriate and as you're interested on Twitter. Sorry about my cold or whatever this is going on. Hopefully it'll pass soon. I also finished reading the definition of Latin America discussion forum that we did in Unit 1. I really found all of your thoughts and ideas about Chastain's approach to thinking about Latin America to be interesting. You did a good job of identifying his way of thinking about Latin America as not just a region, but also a process, a place of many cultures and great diversity. It's definitely all of those things. And I think the major issue that we'll have to think about in our class, especially given the type of class this is, since it's a survey of the history of the entire region, is that question of how we can even talk about a single shared history for all of these different nations that share such varied traditions, cultures, and so on. Many of you pointed out the kind of case that Chastain made. Of course, many of the Latin American nations share the experience of Spanish colonialism. Of course, Brazil is a major exception there, but it had the experience of Portuguese colonialism. So there are some differences, but a lot of similarities along those lines because the Catholic faith was a major part of both of those European nations' efforts to colonize different parts of the globe, mostly in the Americas, but also elsewhere. And so, Catholicism has really influenced and shaped a lot of the traditions of Latin Americans, along with, I should say, indigenous traditions and ways of viewing the world. Those two things have come together in a kind of syncretism or hybridity that we'll talk more about as we continue the class. So as we go along, I just want us to keep in mind that we're surveying Latin America's history from, or I've heard it said, we're getting the view from 40,000 feet. We don't get to see too many of the details, unfortunately, because we're trying to take in so much at once. But instead, we're trying to better understand the broad contours, the major historical trends and issues. And so along those lines, the Chastain book, Born in Blood and Fire, will give us that kind of broad view and a big picture historical narrative that helps us tie together the various diverse histories of Latin American people and cultures. In the Wood and Alexander book, we'll get a little bit more of a close-grained view of certain specific themes, but there's still a lot more we could study and a lot more we could look into. So in the timeline assignments, you'll be able to choose specific topics, either a person, an event, a place, or a theme from the unit that we're working on that will allow you to go more in depth on that particular thing to relate it to our unit's guiding question and to help us all better understand the history of this region and these vibrant cultures that we're going to be studying this semester. So that's just some of my thoughts after reading through everything in Unit 1, some comments about kind of the big picture of the class going forward. Please don't hesitate to ask questions whenever you have them. I'm happy to help with anything that I can. I'm happy to make an appointment to chat via Zoom so that we can screen share whatever we might need so that you can get up and running with Twitter or with Tiki-Taki for the timeline or anything else that would help with the course. So please, again, don't hesitate to ask if you need help, if you have questions, and I look forward to studying Unit 2 with you all, which will bridge the colonial period, and many of you have already started on this, with the independence movements of the first few decades of the 19th century. So that's where we're headed next.